I'm on a bit of a recording spree. This is like video 4. For context, I formatted my camera recently, which fixed an issue where there were a couple old videos which were stuck but invisible on the camera, which shortened the amount of space I had to record, so I can only record like 2 at a time, but now I can do like 4 or 5 at a time. But anyway, yes, I used to be libertarian, but I was one for so long that I still have a libertarian flavor to my beliefs from time to time. Like, I still don't have much of a problem with I don't want to get into other issues. But yes, here's my problem with libertarianism. And it's also a problem for other beliefs too. And that's being too stuck in the ideal world, and because of that, having an inability to deal with the world as it is. Libertarians have something called praxis, which is supposed to fix this, but not enough of them do it, I think. And what I mean by that is libertarians have an ideal world of what the perfect setup would be, with like almost no government or everything privatized, and just how awesome that would be if it was done a certain way. But without considering what that would look like in real life, and also not being able to factor in that we're nowhere near this kind of libertarian ideal world. And because of that, they're unable to deal with the issues as they are now. A good example of how libertarians fail because of their wrong methodology here and only focusing on the ideal and not things as they are would be racial bias. When it comes to race, the ideal libertarian world is pure individualism, in which everyone is only judged on the basis of their individual actions. The race doesn't exist in the libertarian ideal world, only pure individualism. But the thing is that we don't live in that world now. So just pretending like we do is not going to help fix any issues when it comes to racial bias now. So when you ask a libertarian about racial bias or discrimination in the workplace and all that, they'll simply reply, race doesn't exist because we were all pure individuals. Unless you get right-wing libertarians, in which case they'll tell you that the white people are better and that they're not racist, yo. They just think that white people are better. There are some racist freaking libertarians. They exist. They're a minority, but they are a loud minority on the internet. But generally, libertarians are not racist. They have this pure individualist viewpoint. The thing is, we don't live in a purely individualist society, which has no race in it. You see, I think race exists as a social construct, not biologically. And social constructs are real. So that's where I'm different. I believe race is a social construct, but that social constructs are not fake or false. Social constructs are important, and for instance, the government is a social construct. It wouldn't exist if we didn't believe in it. Humans created it socially, and they exist socially as a social construction, in the same way that race exists in our society as a social construction. We only use physical markers as a way of marking people as a part of a race or not. But race would exist, it would disappear if no one believed in it. I mean, there's no reason why someone should be considered a different group just because they sunburn really bad when it's sunny out, or they don't get enough vitamin D if they're in an area that's really cloudy all the time, because they have a whole bunch of pigments that block the sun, because that was what helped people survive in sunnier areas. But there's no reason to put people in their races because of it. But the thing is, we don't live in my ideal world of no one believing that races exist, and we don't live in the libertarian ideal world. So since we don't live in that, we can't just pretend that no one believes that race exists. So when we deal with the problem, we have to deal with it within the framework of race existing as a social construct. So there's a point where libertarians' extreme individualism and being too stuck in the ideal world totally fails to help people out who are being oppressed by oppressive concepts of and social constructs of race. Because they would just keep responding, oh, race doesn't exist, we're all pure individuals. Okay, well, that doesn't fix any problems. We should probably do stuff like affirmative action or actively fighting against racial discrimination as if it exists. We have to help transition things away from oppression and all that. Oh yes, and my last point, because I could go on this like for a long time. When it comes to capitalism, they stay too stuck in how capitalism looks like in an ideal situation, which capitalism ideally looks like a flea market. In a flea market, there are no big businesses or little businesses. Well, some people might be more successful than others. Flea markets are, if you want an example of anarchism in action, flea markets, or anarcho-capitalism in action, and the libertarians and anarcho-capitalists tend to see capitalism as in this ideal of flea markets, rather than how the world really is, which is evil corporations, which they say only exist because of government. But I think even in anarcho-capitalism, rich corporations would be even more powerful. They might not be called corporations because technically that's a legal entity, but whatever. So in how things would really be would be that they'd have a lot of power. You know, I could spend a lot of time attacking anarcho-capitalism, which anarcho-capitalism, I'm not going to go, this will be for video 5. Anyway, yeah.